What's up guys, Chris here, back with another video. Welcome back to the Camera Junkie. I know it's been quite a while since you've seen me. I've been over here in the Philippines now, vlogging for a little while, and you can go check me out over on CJ Abroad if you want to. But here, today, we're gonna get back into some camera rumors. No more like live stream types, it's gonna be more, you know, talking head type videos. So here we go. Today we got 5 reasons. Or 5 things I'm hoping to see in the new Panasonic S5 Mark II. Now I'm shooting today on the Panasonic S5 Mark I. I love this camera. I've had it since its launch. Now I'm over here in the Philippines now. I live in the Philippines now, and it is almost impossible to find anything Panasonic, so I'm not necessarily so interested in the S5 Mark II. But it's still a camera that is going to be, you know, it's a popular camera. It's going to be a very popular camera. So today, 5 things I'm hoping that we see in the Panasonic S5 Mark II. Let's get started. Alright, so rumors have been floating around that Panasonic is going to have a phase detect autofocus system, folks. Finally, possibly getting a phase detect autofocus system. Now, I have like 2 kind of thoughts on this, right? That part of the reason why we haven't seen a phase detect autofocus system yet in a Panasonic camera is because they've been working on it, right? And I kind of, in many ways, can see this coming out and just being bang on, just amazing autofocus, or I could see it just being garbage, like no different than their current contrast detect autofocus system. I'm shooting also today on the Sigma 24-70 F2.8 lens at 24mm f2.8. So, but yeah, I could see it being, I could see it possibly being a really good autofocus system. Like, you know, like something like Fuji, you know, they use phase detect, but it doesn't compete with Canon or Nikon, or sorry, Sony at this point. Same with Nikon, doesn't really necessarily compete with. Maybe in their Z9 kind of does compete a little bit, but for the most part it doesn't necessarily compete with Canon and Sony. So I'm hoping that it'd be kind of cool if they have. I use autofocus right now. The autofocus isn't, you know, great. You can kind of see this is the old phase detect autofocus system. It was better on this camera than it was in previous cameras. You know, I think it's fine. It's not my favorite camera to use now that I have FX30, and I also have the XH2S as well. Alright, so number 2, 4K 60 FPS in full frame. Now, this current system here shoots 4K 60 with a APS-C crop, so 1.5 times crop factor. Now, I don't particularly like to use that. I do like using 4K 60 for these videos, for a talking head type video that doesn't have to be cinematic. You know, I want it to be sharp, I want it to be a clean image, and I get that in 4K 60. So a lot of times you'll see me use, the majority of the time I shoot these videos, will be using my FX30, but right now I'm using the Panasonic, because we're shooting about a Panasonic camera, so we're talking about a Panasonic camera and the predecessor to the one I'm shooting on. So 4K 60 full frame would be very nice. So I'm kind of hoping for that because I love the Sigma 24-70 f2.8. Love this camera. I love this lens. My favorite lens probably of all time. And I do want to get it. I have a Sony A7C, so I'm probably gonna eventually get that lens for that camera and be able to shoot these. Matter of fact, it's right here, Sony A7C. I have the 12-24 f4 on here, but I would love to have my next lens be the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 for this camera. Number 3, folks, the Panasonic GH6. You can record to one of these Samsung, or really any portable SSD. And these Samsung portable, these T5 drives, I think there's a T7 drive now. These things are really fast. You can record, plus they're large sizes. Like this is a 512 SSD, I believe. It doesn't say, but I'm pretty sure it's 512 SSD. You can get them 2 terabyte SSD, be able to connect this thing through, you know, some sort of small rig contraption that you can add to the camera, and be able to record directly to that through the USB-C. And I think that's going to be awesome. I think one of the things that kind of sort of draws me to a GH6 Now, I'm not really in the market for another camera right now, but if I were, GH6 would be pretty at the top of the list, mainly because of that feature. It would just be nice to be able to plug in record, pull it out, put it on my computer, and start editing immediately, that'd be swell. Swell. Anyways, so that would be really awesome if I could record to an SSD. Now, like the Blackmagic Pocket cameras, they all can record to SSDs. I think that's something, you know, a run and gun, you know, obviously you can mount it up somehow, but a talking head like this would be perfect to have an SSD here to just, like I said, unplug it, plug it into the computer's right here, and roll. Number 4 is I like to see the same body style. A lot of times they change. Sony's pretty much stayed the same, but you know, there's rumors of a S1 coming out later in 2023, S1 Mark II, and I'm not really sure where that camera kind of comes, you know, sits in the, you know, the S1 and the S1R came out around the same time. They're the first two full frame cameras that Panasonic made, and the cameras honestly didn't really make much sense to me because they were huge cameras. Like, they didn't, you know, take on that mirrorless form factor, if you will. Kind of out there with that. I didn't really understand those systems having such a big form factor, and I'm hoping that maybe we just kind of get rid of that and everything kind of thing stays the S5. We'll get an S5R, we'll get an S5H. I would love to see that type of setup rather than the S1 series, because the S1 series, the S1H is a massive camera, and I think as technology kind of, you know, grows, you'll see kind of, I'm hoping that you'll be able to put all those type, I mean, you have very similar specs in this camera that you do in the S1H, and I would love to be able to see, I'd love to see a camera that comes out that's the same form factor. And another reason I like the same form factor is because I've got the cage, and like I said, I probably won't get this camera, but if I do someday down the road decide I want to get S1 or Panasonic S5 Mark II, I've got the same cage. I've got it currently on an L bracket right now, so I do have, you know, some equipment for it. Now I'm here in the Philippines buying Panasonic gear. I've seen one camera. I've seen an S1 on sale for sale here, and I've seen a 70-200, and then like another telephoto lens. I can't remember what it was, but I haven't seen too many lenses here. You can't really buy any of the Panasonic gear, not even on Lazada here, which is basically the Amazon of Asia. You can't really buy any of the L-mount lenses, so I kind of bought the system, you know, thinking that I was going to be, you know, I would be able to upgrade it down the line, even though I was moving to the Philippines. But you can buy Sony, you can buy Canon, you know, Fuji's huge here, Nikon, but not Panasonic. At least, you know, some more Micro Four Thirds. I've never seen a GH6 here. I've seen GH5S for sale. I've never seen a GH6. I haven't even seen the GH5 Mark II here. I've seen a lot of Micro Four Thirds lenses. No Olympus. I haven't really seen Olympus at all over here in the Philippines, so I'm probably going to steer away from this camera anyway, no matter what. It'd be kind of cool to see the same form factor. Alright, so the last thing. The rumor mill says, and I seen a video the other day, and I was like kind of just laughing because, you know, it wasn't correct. But somebody had mentioned will be more expensive than the S1. No. The rumor says the Panasonic S5 Mark II will be more expensive, and the S1 to Mark II will be announced in Q3. It doesn't say that the S5 Mark II will be more expensive than the S1. Okay, I think the S1 is, maybe it's a different tier of camera. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work, but I personally would take the S5 series well before I took the S1 series, just because of the size of it, pure size of it. They're just massive cameras for a mirrorless system. I'd love to have the S1H. That's kind of nice, kind of badass camera. But I would love to see a, you know, an S5H before I bought an S1H, to be honest with you. Just because I like the form factor of it a lot better. I think your price range, if you look at the current competition, you've got the Canon R6 Mark II that just came out. It's $25.99 for the body alone. The Sony A7 IV is $24.98 body alone, and the Panasonic S5 currently is on sale for $16.97. To me, those are no-brainers. I'm going to buy the Panasonic because it's so much cheaper, right? Okay, well, I think that you're going to see this kind of get a little bit closer to those ranges, folks. I think that's what we're going to see here. I think we're going to see, you know, I'm hoping that what the price comes in is around $2,300. Typically, you know, and if you look at the history of, you know, the last 5 years or so, Panasonic is giving you more bang for your buck in general. Now, yeah, what they lack in autofocus, they make up for in features. So if you can manually focus and stuff like that, if you're not relying on autofocus, you know, you can make up, you know, you can make really good high quality content with this camera. You know, it is what it is. So I expect this camera to kind of have you know, the bump in specs. Obviously, why would they put a new camera out if they're not going to bump in specs? Maybe they're going to use, you know, they use a Sony sensor right now, 24 megapixel Sony sensor. Maybe they're going to get the 33 megapixel Sony sensor that they got in the A7 IV. Could be. That's not something I'm asking for because I really don't care, because I don't think you're going to see 8K or anything like that. It's not going to be something that's going to just blow away the S1H Mark II. That's still the flagship camera. I don't think just because they're coming out with a new S5 doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to beat the S1H, you know, in spec wise. So I can't see 8K or 6K or something. Maybe 6K external like this currently does, but I could see 4K full frame 60, and I could see the camera coming out, you know, for, you know, maybe a new sensor, you know, 33 megapixel sensor. I can see the camera coming out for $2,400. I think the original price right now is $2,000, so you're gonna see a bump in the price. Hopefully, it's only a couple $100. But anyways, if you like this video, hit that like button. And if you really like this video, you know, hit the subscribe button if you want to. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.